She wondered, would it be possible to start over after losing everything? After a devastating accident that left her unable to move her legs, Clara was abandoned by her husband, who could not bear the pressure of caring for her. The pain of rejection hit her deeply, but it also ignited a flame within her. Instead of succumbing to despair, Clara decided she would not be defined by her disability. With her heart full of determination, she embarked on a new dream: to create an inclusive company that offered opportunities for people with disabilities. Clara's life in her hometown of Chicago was anything but easy. The streets were often filled with looks of pity and disdain, and she felt the weight of the stigma that society imposed. The days were long and lonely, filled with daily challenges, from the difficulty of moving around to the emotional struggle of accepting her new reality. But when she looked out the window of her apartment, Clara saw beyond what was in front of her. She saw a world that could be better, a world where everyone, regardless of their limitations, could have a chance to shine. Clara's biggest challenge was not only her physical condition, but also the echo of doubts that haunted her. She wondered if she was capable of leading and inspiring others. After months of reflection and self-discovery, Clara made the decision that would change her life. With modest savings, she launched her company, offering products and services designed to make life easier for people with disabilities. The first step was difficult, but her passion for what she was doing fueled her motivation. Clara began working from home, creating a space where every detail was designed to include and welcome. The path was not easy. Clara faced rejections, financial difficulties, and even doubts from people who did not believe in her dream. However, with each obstacle, her determination grew. She learned to surround herself with people who shared her vision and supported her unconditionally. Over time, Clara's company began to gain recognition, not only for the quality of its products, but also for the powerful message of inclusion it conveyed. Now, Clara is not just a successful businesswoman. She is a symbol of hope and resilience. Her story is a reminder that even in the darkest situations, it is possible to find a light. Clara continues to inspire others, showing that true strength comes from within and that everyone has the power to transform their lives, regardless of their circumstances. Clara knew that the path to success would not be easy, but she had no idea how intense the challenges would be. With her newly launched company, she faced the harsh reality of entrepreneurship. The first months were a mix of hope and frustration. Although people around her admired her courage, often what she needed was practical support. Sales were not going as well as she had hoped, and the pressure to sustain her business made her even more anxious. One day, while reviewing the numbers at her makeshift desk, Clara received a call from one of the suppliers she had hired. He was canceling the contract, claiming that the demand was not sufficient to justify the partnership. This news hit her like a punch in the gut. With a heavy heart, she realized that without the support of suppliers, her company could collapse. The feeling of helplessness enveloped her, and she questioned whether she was truly capable of moving her dream forward. But Clara was not the type to be easily discouraged. She decided she needed to seek alternatives. She started attending meetings and networking events where she met incredible people, but also faced skepticism from some. One of the most impactful meetings was with an investor who seemed interested in her idea, but at the same time asked challenging questions that forced her to confront her own vision. "Do you really believe that people with disabilities can be a viable market?" he asked with a skeptical expression. This question echoed in Clara's mind. She knew that inclusion was not just a market issue, but a matter of dignity and respect. However, his words made her reflect on her own belief. Was her struggle just a dream or a real path to change? Another character who entered Clara's life was Lucas, a childhood friend who reappeared after years. Lucas had become a designer and offered to help create the visual identity of the company. However, their friendship would become a battleground, as Lucas, although well-meaning, had different views on how Clara should run her ideas. He believed she should focus on a broader audience, while Clara wanted to maintain her focus on inclusion. This tension began to affect not only their friendship, but also Clara's motivation. She felt torn between following her vision and giving in to Lucas's pressure. The discussions became frequent, and each disagreement felt like an open wound. Clara, while wanting to listen to Lucas, also felt disheartened. It was as if every step she took toward her dream was being questioned, not just by Lucas, but also by her own insecurity. As Clara struggled with her emotions, a new blow struck her, an accident at one of the workshops she had hired to produce her products. One of the workers was seriously injured, resulting in a series of lawsuits and distrust. Clara's company, which was starting to gain some traction, now faced a crisis that threatened its existence. The fear of losing everything she had built kept her awake at night, and the pressure was becoming unbearable. In the midst of this storm, Clara began to question her own motivations. Why was she really doing this? Was it for herself or to prove something to others? In moments of solitude, she remembered the husband who had abandoned her and the pain she had felt. The rejection that once devastated her now seemed like a source of fuel. Clara decided that she wouldn't let fear paralyze her. She needed to find a new focus, a new way to view difficulties. It was at that moment that something changed. Clara decided that instead of letting herself be defeated, she would use the challenges as learning experiences. She began to tell her story on social media and share the struggles she faced. And to her surprise, many people connected with her journey. This not only brought visibility to her business, but also created a community of support and solidarity. As Clara moved closer to her true essence, her relationship with Lucas began to transform. They decided to sit down and talk about their differences, and instead of seeing it as a barrier, they viewed it as an opportunity for growth. Together, they started to develop a new product line that incorporated the vision of inclusion Clara had always wanted, but now with a design touch that Lucas brought. The twists kept coming, but Clara learned to navigate them with more confidence. What once seemed like a distant dream was now shaping into something real and concrete. Clara's path was filled with challenges, but she was not alone. The community she had created, Lucas's support, and the strength she had found within herself propelled her forward. Even when life seemed to be falling apart, Clara discovered that her determination was stronger than any obstacle that might arise. Clara was going through one of the toughest days of her life. After weeks of uncertainty and struggles, she received a call that would change everything. It was a woman from the press, interested in doing a story about her company. Clara felt a mix of nervousness and hope. This could be the boost she so desperately needed. However, at the same time, a shadow of insecurity accompanied her. Was her story really inspiring, or just another narrative of failure? Days later, the article was published. Clara was emotional to see her name in the pages, but the euphoria quickly turned into anxiety. The phone began to ring incessantly, and emails started flooding her inbox. People wanted to know more about her products, but criticisms and questions also emerged. The pressure increased, and Clara felt the responsibility of representing such an important cause weighing on her shoulders. A new challenge arose when a major competitor began launching similar products, but with a much more commercial approach. Clara realized that her philosophy of inclusion was being distorted, turning into a marketing strategy. This left her distressed. How could she compete in a market where the essence of her work was being trivialized? Doubts about whether she was really doing the right thing began to gnaw at her confidence. Amidst this turmoil, Lucas reached out to her. He was excited about the article's impact and suggested that they organize an event to present the company's story and products to a larger audience. Clara hesitated. The idea of being in the spotlight again terrified her. The fear of failure paralyzed her, and the pressure for results felt overwhelming. She questioned whether she was truly ready for this. The urgency of the situation forced her to confront her insecurities. During a sleepless night, while reviewing the negative comments she had received, Clara had an epiphany. She realized that she had been focusing too much on how others saw her and not enough on her own vision. Her mission was not just to sell products, but to create a space where people with disabilities felt valued and respected. With this new clarity, Clara decided that she would hold the event, not as a sales opportunity, but as a space for dialogue and exchange. She invited experts, users, and people who lived inclusion in their daily lives. The event would not only be about her products, but about the need to discuss inclusion more broadly. Clara felt that this approach could bring new meaning to what she was building. On the day of the event, Clara was nervous but determined. People arrived, and the room was filled with curious and welcoming faces. She began to share her story, her struggles, and what motivated her to create her business. Seeing the audience's reactions, smiles, tears, and nervous laughter, Clara realized she was touching on something deep. People were connecting with the message of inclusion and empowerment. As she spoke, Clara felt a weight lift. The emotional tension that had accompanied her for weeks began to transform into something lighter. She was being honest, not only with herself, but with everyone listening. True success was not about having a large number of sales or being the most well-known, but about making a difference in people's lives. The event was a success, not only in terms of attendance, but also in impact. Clara received messages of gratitude and support from people who felt inspired by her courage and determination. From that day on, her vision began to change. She was no longer alone on this journey. The community support, the renewed relationship with Lucas, and the strength she had found within herself propelled her forward. Clara realized that the difficulties had shaped her in ways she had never imagined. Each challenge, each detour, and each criticism became part of her story of overcoming. She not only faced her insecurities, but also found a renewed purpose. Now, with every step she took, Clara knew she was building something that went far beyond a simple business. She was creating a community that valued inclusion and diversity, and that was definitely true success. Clara was at a crucial moment in her life. After weeks of uncertainty and challenges, she finally received a call that promised to change her destiny. Upon hearing the media's interest in her company, a mix of nervousness and hope overwhelmed her. However, insecurity soon settled in, leading her to question whether her story was truly inspiring or just another tale of failure. When the article was published, Clara felt a wave of emotions. The initial joy gave way to anxiety, with the phone ringing incessantly and emails flooding in. Although there was genuine interest in her products, criticism also emerged, increasing the pressure on her shoulders. She began to doubt herself, questioning whether she was truly capable of representing such an important cause. The situation became even more complicated with the emergence of competitors who distorted her philosophy of inclusion in their marketing strategies. The pain of this transformation made her feel that her work was being trivialized. Clara found herself in an internal conflict, struggling against the doubt and insecurity that threatened to paralyze her. In this turbulent scenario, Lucas entered the scene, proposing an event to share Clara's story and that of her company. The idea terrified her. The pressure for results and the fear of failure left her hesitant. However, one night of reflection led Clara to a revelation. She realized that she had been focusing too much on others' perceptions and not enough on her own vision. Her mission was to create a space where people with disabilities felt valued and respected. With this new perspective, Clara decided to carry out the event, not as a sales opportunity, but as a space for dialogue about inclusion. She invited experts and people who lived inclusion in their daily lives. As she shared her story with the audience, Clara felt she was touching something deep. The emotional reactions of people to her narrative made her realize that she was making a difference. The event was a success, not only in terms of attendance, but also in impact. Clara received thanks and support from people who felt inspired by her courage. From that day on, her vision changed. She no longer felt alone on her journey and found strength in the community around her. Every challenge became part of her story of overcoming. Clara learned that her difficulties uniquely shaped her. Each criticism and detour helped her discover a renewed purpose. Now, with every step she took, she understood she was building something beyond a business. She was creating a community that valued inclusion and diversity. True fulfillment was not in sales, but in the connections she made and the impact she had on people's lives. This journey transformed Clara into a new version of herself. She applied the lessons learned, making decisions that reflected her personal growth. Her emotions, once confusing, were now part of her strength. The friendships she cultivated along the way helped her see the world in a renewed way, and the courage she found within herself propelled her to continue. Clara's life was a testament that even in adversity, it was possible to find purpose and make a difference. The day of the event arrived, and Clara felt her heart race. The auditorium was full, and familiar faces supported her, but the pressure was immense. She had to speak about her story, about inclusion, and everything it meant to her and others. When she stepped onto the stage, anxiety almost paralyzed her. She remembered all the criticisms, how her competitors distorted her message. But as she looked at the audience, something inside her began to change. Clara took a deep breath and started to speak. Her voice trembled, but as she recounted her struggles and achievements, an unexpected strength emerged. She shared her experiences, the pain of insecurity, and the joy she found in the community she had built. Tears began to stream down her face, but Clara didn't care. What mattered was the connection she was creating. From the back of the audience, she saw a woman raising her hand. It was a mother who had brought her daughter, a young woman with a disability who was struggling against prejudice. The woman asked to speak, and Clara invited her onto the stage. The young woman began to share her story, and as she spoke, Clara realized the importance of coming together. Empathy filled the room. At that moment, Clara understood she was not alone. The stories of everyone present intertwined, forming an unbreakable network of support. The pressure that once suffocated her transformed into energy. She realized that her true success was not in sales, but in her ability to inspire and give voice to those who were often silenced. In the end, Clara not only overcame her fear, but also found a renewed purpose. The event was not just a platform for her company, but a milestone in her journey. She returned home with the certainty that true wealth lay in the connections she had created. Clara's story was not just about a woman facing challenges. It was about a united community ready to fight for inclusion, respect, and love. Clara looked at the audience, now filled with welcoming faces, and felt a profound transformation within herself. By sharing her story, she not only found her own power, but also united people facing similar battles. Every word she spoke resonated with the pain and hope of many, and the connection formed in that auditorium was something she had never expected. On her way home, Clara reflected on her achievements. She realized that true success wasn't in numbers, but in the ability to impact lives and create a space where everyone felt seen and heard. Her journey didn't end there. It was just the beginning of something greater, and the friendships she made that day would change her perspective forever. The future remained uncertain, but that didn't frighten her. Clara was ready to face new challenges, knowing she wasn't alone. And you, have you faced similar challenges? Share your experiences in the comments. Together, let's build a stronger and more united community. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can bring more inspiring stories like this. The time to act is now.